And we're back for another Main Street Minute. I'm Alex McIntyre. With me, as always, is City Engineer Ed Roberge. Ed, we have some significant progress moving along here. The one big thing, though, the new development, is the City Council has decided to go ahead and underground a couple blocks of overhead utilities and put them underneath the ground. What can you tell us about that new development?
Well, similar to what you're seeing now, we've got Main Street on the east side torn up. You're going to see something very similar in just smaller locations once we begin the undergrounding work of the utilities. As you can imagine, you're seeing overhead poles and wires. Those wires will be placed in conduits, so we'll have smaller work areas along the west side, along with the work that's being done on the east side. So simultaneous work, one small little block at a time. It'll take up a little bit of the parking spaces that are there, but we're going to work through there quickly. Generally, it's very similar to what you've seen with the other conduit work that we've done in the north end phase, which is just digging shallow, narrow trenches, putting conduit in. In this case, we encase that in concrete, and then we cover that up the next day. We move on to the next area. So, a little bit of extra work, particularly on both sides of the street at the same time, but nothing that we can't work around.
All right. And what was the decision to do it, or what prompted, I guess, the decision to do it that way instead of going behind the buildings or trying to put the power line somewhere else?
Well, we work really closely with all of the utility companies, particularly electric, to see what opportunities we actually did have to try to route that. And some of the services are routed behind buildings. You have a number of buildings that still require, where the existing wires are entering in the front of the building, that will have to be placed in conduit and go underground. So about 50% of the locations we're talking about need to be done, kind of building face. At the same time, the wire systems are also circuits that are feeding other areas. So those wires need to be made continuous from the north end's underground system tying in the south end's overhead system that'll go underground. So that's it's somewhat of a combination, which results in the need for both.
Okay. And what's the overall benefit to doing this? I mean, it's a lot of work, and it's a pretty good chunk of change. So why is this worth doing this?
Well, some would argue that clearly the economic benefits of having the wires, poles out of the way, making for a more aesthetically pleasing location. There's basis of that, this fact of that will support that. But at the same time, also just undergrounding overhead wires, you have a certain resiliency, a certain reliability issue where you're not dealing with ice storms and potential dropping of lines. So it's a safety factor, it's an economic factor. Both of those made sense to City Council and their decision process to add this to the job.
Great. So while we sit around and wait for that to happen, there's obviously a lot more going on. What can we expect for South Main Street in the near future?
Yeah, the east side work continues on. As you can see, we've removed from Pleasant Street to Hills Avenue the sidewalks. You can see pavement is being reclaimed as we speak now, paving next week. This first section from Pleasant to Hills will be paved as early as Wednesday of next week. Then a lot of intensive sidewalk work will continue. It's that same methodical, do the road, do the sidewalks, and then begin starting utilities. And then next thing you know, you're going to see a curb show up, and then we'll start building sidewalks. So work is progressing along quite nicely. The weather's great. We can use this kind of weather here, and everybody knows what to expect. Everybody's getting by. Businesses are open. There's plenty of parking down here. Come on down and enjoy what you see out here.
Great. You heard it from Ed Roberge first. Come on down and enjoy it all. All the businesses are open. For more information and updates, make sure you visit ConcordMainStreetProject.com. We'll see you in a couple weeks.